In the spring of 2021, Jinkx Monsoon and Nick Sahoyah recorded a Futurama recap podcast. For reasons unknown, it was never released. These are the raw tapes.
I'm 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7th episode of I'm 40% Podcast. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and as usual, I have this little shithead with me here.
Mom, don't swear. Don't swear. You're turning
swearing,
people off right off the bat.
Swearing is how... No, like, swears are no big deal anymore.
Mom,
like, people communicate freely with swears these days.
I've been thinking about it, and this is the 7th episode, and you haven't really found your groove yet. And I'm thinking, let's lean into what you're good at. I don't want you to embarrass yourself in front of our guests.
I'm just trying to introduce the episode. Like,
well,
there's not a right way or a wrong way to do that.
I'm here to help you.
As long as I spit out the information, that's all that matters.
What I'm saying is, you're good at singing. Compliment, right? That's a compliment. I'm being nice to you. So why don't you sing the intro, and then you won't... Yeah.
I hate you. Okay, so
no,
we have a very...
Finish it. That was so good.
I will not have you belittling me in front of our guest. Okay, so...
This is very toxic already. I mean, it's like incredibly dysfunctional. There's a lot of gaslighting happening already on both ends.
Oh, I'm very excited. Our guest today is a living legend, a queer advocate, a queer icon, and one of my heroes. Everybody, Margaret Cho is our guest today. Hello, Margaret.
Thank you. I love you. Thank you. That's so wonderful. Hello.
Thank you for being here, Margaret.
How are you surviving these days? What are your top 3 survival methods?
Ordering cat trees off of Etsy. Number 1. Also, cat clothing, which the cat's going to wear the same size as my dog, so they can switch outfits. So now they have Chinese emperor outfits, they have kimonos, they have kipaos, which is the Chinese dresses with the silky collars, which I feel like I've seen you in before.
Me?
Yeah, beautiful like 60s kind of very slim silken gown things. That's what I sort of remember.
Yeah, I've been all over the place with my fashion throughout the years. And now it's like with my, my changing feminine body, I've got new curves to display.
Ooh, gorgeous. Also, I remember a lot of... Oh, yeah.
It's nice that your cat and dog are the same size, though, because it's like when you get a partner who's the same size as you, and you double your wardrobe.
Yes, so they doubled their wardrobe. They have, they also have a lot of there's like fake sheepskin, kind of like, they look like Uggs, but they're fake, but they're like, so they like moving Uggs around and, but yeah, I love the clothing element. They also have like Japanese schoolgirl outfits that I have for my other dogs who were much larger, but I think they'll grow into them. We'll see.
I really like having cats because I buy things for them that I'm interested in, and I live vicariously through them. And half the time they don't give a shit about the things I get for them. Like we have so many cat trees because I was like, they're going to need this cat tree over here in this area and this cat. And they have their one favorite cat tree and every other cat tree is ignored. But that's what I love about cats. They make you work for them. They're very manipulative creatures, but they also, like nuzzle your face and then it feels worth it.
It is worth it. But I find that like the cat tree aesthetic is so ugly all the time. It's so like carpet and weird. It's like the cat equivalent to like a big sort of a weird like new condo. It's just so ugly. Like, it's like, why is this so offensive? It's like a McMansion, but for cats. It's so awful.
They can be useful in situations you wouldn't expect. Like we, as you know, I had an at-home Zoom wedding last weekend, and we actually put much of the equipment on a cat tree. And it was perfect for broadcasting a wedding. So they should start.
Perfect. I tried to roll my R, but I missed. You know when you miss?
Yeah,
it's very embarrassing.
It's hard when to catch.
It's like when you try to roll your R and you can't, and it just sounds disgusting. Or when you try to whistle and it's just that like dry little like.
It's like a millimeter of difference. Don't get mad at me, Mom.
But comedy's all about details. So, Margaret, I have seen every episode of American Girl. I've seen so many of your comedy specials. You've been such an inspirational advocate throughout my life. That's just getting all the gushing out of the way, because now we're going to talk we're going to talk very seriously about Futurama. And if you didn't know, to the extent that I nerd out about things, you will by the end of this. Have you? Oh, wait, you told me you have a funny story about Futurama, because
yes, I met Matt Groening actually at the audition for Futurama, which I went to many, many, many years ago, because I used to be mostly, mostly like a voice actor. So I've done a lot of like voice things, and I used to be on this show called The Critic, which some of the writers are from Futurama and Simpsons sort of went on to do that. And then, so they brought me in, and I met Matt Groening. He was so nice. And then I remember seeing him later with Amy Tan. And Amy Tan had on this giant Simpsons baseball jacket filled with Yorkies. There was at least 4 Yorkies in the jacket. And it was at a nightclub. I think it was like a comedy club. And it was the strangest thing, because she was wearing this giant Simpsons jacket, but it was moving. And it had all of the Simpsons on it. So it was like they were all like moving. And and she was with Matt Groening, and they're good friends. But he was very nice. And then on The Simpsons, in one episode or 2 episodes I mentioned, one of them, Homer Simpson says that I'm, I think, his favorite comedian. So that's a good one.
Wait, Homer says that you're
one of his favorites. Or one of, I think it's one of his favorites or his favorite. I can't remember. But it's in there.
That's great,
in a couple of different things. So, yes, it's very exciting. But I really wanted the part in Futurama, and I can't remember even which part it was. So when I went back to watch the episode, I was like, I wonder which one it was. I can't remember. Maybe it was a general one where they were just meeting you to see what they would do with you later.
Yeah.
But very exciting, because I love the Life is Hell, Love is Hell book series before he became Simpsons guy. So I knew of his work.
He's written books.
Yeah, they were all
Are they cartoons also? Because that would help us to get through them.
They were like graphic novels and comic strips, and him and Linda Barry I absolutely love. They're great. They were great sort of alternative comic strip, like they did sort of graphic novels, and but they weren't as detailed as somebody like Dan Clowes or Peter Baggy. A little different from like 8-Ball and Ghost World. It was more these very line drawings that were similar to what The Simpsons is, and a really great thing. I think they would do that when they used to have alternative weekly in cities, like the LA Weekly or the SF Weekly, or the Bay Guardian, which was the big San Francisco alternative paper. They would have their strips in there.
Wow.
All I'm hearing is that there's pictures, so my brain will be able to have the capacity for that. But
absolutely,
Mom, when's the last time you read a book?
I'm currently reading a book. Thank you very much.
I'm not judging.
It's
Just
taking me,
based on what you said. I'm trying to.
It's taking me a very long time to get through it, but I'm happy to be
Have they
reading
hopped
once
on Pop
more.
yet?
No, my partner encouraged me to read a book, and I started reading it. And then I was like, as I'm reading it, I'm like, oh my God, when's the last time I read a book, you know? And it was so thrilling to be reading a book again. So I'm very much enjoying the process, even though I think drag queens, we cater our lives to our indulgences, you know? So it's like, as soon as playing video games became more fun, books went out, you know?
Fair.
I get it.
Thank you for calling me illiterate in front of one of my heroes. So anyway.
Margaret, you read a lot of books?
I do, but only like to study for things like, since I will, like, this is the first time I've ever had cats. I've been reading all those Jackson Galaxy books, the Mojo catification. So I read books only for the function, like that, and cookbooks only for the function. I'll need the information for something. So I don't read for entertainment per se. I used to, but then I don't know what it was. I just sort of, it sort of went to different things. Well, like streaming and binging TV.
I feel like when you're watching TV, you can do another thing kind of while you're doing it.
Exactly.
You could like maybe clean up a little bit or look at your phone. But if you're reading a book, that's all you're allowed to do. And you can't even listen to music because then you think of the words in the song when you're trying to read the words in the book.
Oh yeah, that's impossible to do. You know, so then you don't do anything. You don't remember the book, and you don't listen to the music. It's frustrating.
I think we are all similarly minded because, like, the more computer-brained people in my life all read, like, 3 books at once, and, you know, like, I feel like reading books is like a superiority complex, you know? People only read books so that they can look down on other people.
Yeah, I bet all the people who like read books in cafes like before the pandemic are just sitting at home watching cartoons now because no one can see them reading their leather-bound books.
I know, their first editions of Infinite Jest.
My middle school teacher apparently went to school with Matt Groening, and she would do, her name was Jodie Foster. She had a Minnesota accent. She was just
in
one of the
Taxi
most,
Driver.
She was, you know, like, as a young queer kid, I was obsessed with her because she was just one of those like unique once in a lifetime people. And then on top of all of it, she went to school with Matt Groening because I think he was raised here in Portland, Oregon, which is where I am right now.
Yes.
And like my ex-boyfriend lived on the street, like near the Evergreen Terrace, which is, you know, where the Simpsons live. So I feel like Matt Groening has just implanted himself in my life since birth. Like, I think this...
I love it. I love it.
I think the Simpsons, I don't want them to ever be off air because I'm afraid like my life force is intertwined with The Simpsons. Like, do you ever assign weird meaning to things like that? Like,
of
The
course.
Simpsons came out the year I was born, so now I'm afraid that if they end, I end.
Yeah, I mean it's very I love that. I think that's very real and very true. My thing is I believe that the ghost of my past self is walking around cities. Then I'll greet them every once in a while. So if I'm in Portland, I'll see myself walking down Hawthorne. I'll see myself at Pok Pok.
Oh, wow.
That's so cute.
If I'm going around New York City is where it probably happens the most. That and San Francisco, where you remember. I think it's because I've been high so much in all of those different places that my high self is still high there somewhere.
And then we're getting into alternate realities and time
So
hiccups
deep.
and
Yes.
wibbly wobbly timey wimey. Anyway, what
She
did you
started watching Doctor Who, and she can't go through
Stop
one
it.
goddamn
Stop it.
episode without talking about Doctor Who. And I've been
Okay.
trying to get her to watch Buffy for like 7, 8,
I
10
know it's
years.
the same
Ooh.
level of cheese. Okay, I understand that.
Do you like Buffy, Margaret?
I do like Buffy, but so the creator of Buffy, all the producers behind Buffy showed me because what they went on, they had done one of the persons that did it was a producer on my TV show, All American Girl. So she was starting up about Buffy and showing me what Buffy was going to be. This is before it went on the air, and I was like, oh, I don't think that's going to work. I'm like really bad predictor of things like the internet. I'm like, oh, that's never gonna happen.
Oh, no way.
No.
That's hilarious. And so you had never seen Futurama before. You had never watched it before we
Mm-mm.
incited
No. And then I watched it, and then I was like, oh, I must have watched this because it seemed familiar. Like I was like, I've seen this before. Of course, it's Katie Seagal and Lauren Tom, and so I'm like, oh, of course I know this. So that for some reason, it's like that and like King of the Hill and a lot of this sort of very big animation doesn't stick in my mind as like, oh, I remember this or I've seen this or I've been there. It's weirdly absent, which is very strange, but it's an ever-present thing. So I have seen it, but I don't remember. But the episode that I watched for this, I hadn't seen.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I have just always preferred cartoons as I mean, I love a lot of live action television, obviously, and there's some really amazing stuff for human beings to watch nowadays, but cartoons have always just spoken particularly to me. And so Futurama is, I think, one of the best written adult animation shows. And Nick and I have seen every episode hundreds of thousands of times, and we basically began this podcast because we said we could probably have an entire conversation just in Futurama quotes. We've yet to do that, but that's basically where we started.
That might be like a Patreon challenge.
But this episode for me, I think it's where the show turns the corner and starts becoming really, really, really good because they're kind of done with all the exposition now. And now they get into crazy, like, what if Fry becomes emperor for a day of an alien planet and they want to assassinate him? So this is a very exciting era for Futurama, and I'm glad that you joined us for this episode.
Yeah, I love it because this is like when it starts to get into social commentary, you know, and I think that's what's so great about Matt Groening is that it always leans into the social commentary and it's all these things are eternal. And even though this is a long time ago, it actually could be just as relevant today. You know, I loved that about the show. And there's a kind of timelessness to animation and in particular, like Matt Groening's style of animation that it endures. It can be anytime, anywhere, and it still feels fresh and modern.
It's funny that you say that because I didn't even put together that at the end they're like storming the Capitol. Like all these like rubes are kind of storming the Capitol.
And also just the truth of the politics and it's like Fry just stumbled into becoming emperor and people are already trying to assassinate him like before he's even been sworn in. This
it's
episode
all a commentary about the meaninglessness of power and how it's a very arbitrary choice. You know, a lot of times it's sort of right time, right place. Like you're in the right time and the right place to drink the emperor, then you're going to be the emperor. You know, you can just walk into it and never really acknowledge. It's like Trump, you know, it's like he has no real reason why he should be president or why. It was just that he kind of decided, okay, I can figure out how to walk into this, because he's never held any office. He's never been the mayor of anything. He doesn't know what the job entails.
The whole thing has been so baffling. And we can also look at the fact that Fry also has orange hair.
Wow.
If we want to keep, there's like a lot of conspiracy theories out there about how the Simpsons have predicted most of what's already happened in our life.
That's true, but also if you have 500 episodes of anything, then if you comb through it, you can find accurate prediction.
It's like the monkeys with the typewriters. Eventually, one of them's going to write Shakespeare.
Yeah,
it was the best of times. It was the
bluest of times.
You stupid monkey. That's a different show.
Yeah, we might just start quoting things out of nowhere. I'm sorry, Margaret.
Okay.
So we get a really fun, this is one of my favorite cold opens, because Bender is going through the robot wash. It's like a car wash, but for a robot. And it's one of the rare times we get to see Bender really excited about something. He's so stoked to go through.
One of the rare times Bender gets excited about everything.
He's so stoked about something that's so menial and day to day,
Obviously, you identify with Bender and you're trying to make him a more likable character than he is.
I've already said several times I'm Fry.
I know, you're the living embodiment of Fry. I just like anytime they parody songs, and make it about the future. Working at the bot wash in the year 25, 25, 25. These are the hits.
They didn't really put a lot of, if this was a Weird Al song, I would be like, maybe do a rewrite. You didn't change a ton of words.
Bot wash was all it needed. Sometimes it's
that's all you need.
Yeah. What were your initial thoughts to the episode? Who are characters that stand out to you, Margaret?
Well, I think all of the water, the Emperor, and all of the whole water kingdom. I love that. The idea of people just being water, because we're pretty much 85% water anyway, so it's pretty true.
Yeah.
So that to me seemed really this is a great idea. This should just be water people.
This should just be water people.
Well, the water, they seem so fluid, and they seemed really refreshing. It was a refreshing
I liked at the end when they were celebrating, and they do it by just jumping into the air and becoming mist.
Yeah.
That sounds so fun.
It's so fun.
There's a lot of the mechanics of the water people that I want to understand better. I mean, there's just basic facts I'd like to have about the water people. The one thing
that
really
space they take up seems to be...
Yeah, because that seems to be... kind of amorphous, how much density they actually have. And then if Fry drinks the Emperor and the Emperor stays alive inside of Fry, how come every Emperor that's drunk an Emperor before, because
they were drank
do they have to digest
they were drinking by a water person, so they just became part of their stomach.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some anatomy crossover there, so...
Who knows?
But also, did Fry not pee all day?
Yeah, maybe they don't pee. Maybe cartoons don't pee, or they had some sort of standards and practice about that. But that they were going to make him cry was also a great statement on masculinity and toxic masculinity and the numbness of toxic masculinity.
There is commentary on masculinity all throughout this episode, starting with the B plot, the plot that sets up for Fry becoming Emperor, and that's that Bender wants to be a chef.
Thirsty first.
Yeah, he has to become so thirsty. How can we get Fry thirsty? I don't know. Something about a slug, a giant slug. Bender cooks a slug. Too much salt on the slug.
Bender likes salt. I don't
know. I love that moment in the beginning where Bender's, confesses he wants to be a cook. And Fry goes, "It's okay, Bender. I like to cook too." And then he starts walking away and Bender goes, "You wuss." After they just all... that's my favorite thing about the humor in Futurama is it's just constant bait and switch. I really like the writing.
First appearance of Elzar.
Elzar,
who's Emerald,
the Emerald parody.
Agassi. What's his last name?
Emerald Lagasse.
Lagasse. And
He's
if you think
Agassi.
about
Got it.
when the episode came out, that's when Food Network and Emerald was really kind of at its height. So you had, and that was the first time that it had sort of like an audience for like a food show. Where you remember he had like a brass band from New Orleans, and people would go bam, and like throw some like of his spice mix into the gumbo, and people would cheer, or they would cheer for pork products. Like it was very strange. Bam! Like he was gonna kick it up a notch and make it spicy, and people would go nuts. Like there's cumin. Like, it's such a weird
and
social
now you
phenomenon.
think about where cooking's at now on TV. It's like cutthroat kid. I mean, like, they literally are trying to kill each other now in cooking competition
and make things
shows.
palatable that don't go together. Like, that's just like, here, do something. Like, the ingredients where they just, and that to me is really stressful.
Yeah, I love it though. I love cooking shows. When I had to, I don't know if you know this, but I went on a reality TV competition show myself. And one of the ways I detoxed afterward was by binging cooking shows, cooking competition shows. Because when you come home from filming something like that, you want to obsess over it and want to try to like predict how it's going to like come out after the editing. And to get my brain out of that space, I would just watch competitive cooking shows because I was like, look at these people act crazy over making, some tuna fish sandwiches,
I know.
And it would kind of help me think like, no matter what happens at the end of the day, I'm just putting on makeup and being funny, like it doesn't have to be the music where it's like do 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 do,
or the acoustic guitar when everything's better, when everything's fine, when you survive. Dun, 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 dun. It's like they use the major chord, minor chord thing all the time to like show you when you're in peril and when you're happy. It's a very interesting trick.
Yeah. I really I feel like I can taste the slug that Bender prepared. When
Bender
the slug
is creating a Neptunian slug.
Yeah.
That he sees Elzar making on TV, and Elzar recommends you can get your Neptunian slug canned, but if you want it to be really good, you gotta strangle a fresh one.
Cooking in the future sounds very dangerous because now you have to incorporate alien cuisine, and so it sounds like there's a lot of skill for humans to cook Neptunian cooking.
Well, also the gag is that Bender doesn't have any taste buds and wants to be a cook, which is funny.
How could you be a cook? You don't even have any sense of taste. I wouldn't accept that coming from someone wearing a lime green tank top.
Which is so funny because she's only wearing the tank top for that joke. She never wears a lime green tank top again.
Yeah, it's poor Leela has no sense of fashion. But when he pours the salt on that slug and it shrinks down and then he cuts it into individual pieces, I feel like I've tasted that before. Like I feel like I've eaten
Was it your
salty
Thanksgiving
jerky.
turkey?
Excuse me, my turkey is always moist and well seasoned. But what's the saltiest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, probably some kind of sea cucumber that's been preserved. Any sort of preserved, because Korean food can get really preserved. But that whole sequence reminded me of one time I went to a restaurant with my mom in the mountains near the border of North Korea, and we climbed to the restaurant, and the restaurant was just a stone, like a tide pool outside the restaurant with a bunch of sea creatures in it. And my mom would point to, okay, this one and this one and this one. And then we went and we sat at like a stone table inside this hut. and they brought all of the sea creatures that they had just smashed with a hammer and brought it with like a dipping sauce. And my mom was like, "Oh, this is so good," and it was so fucked up. Like I was freaked out. Like I'm like, no, that's not cool. That's not cool. And it was so scary.
Were you cold?
I was cold and I was terrified.
I have nothing that can even begin to compare to that story as far as eating. I have not had, I feel like I haven't eaten now. After you've explained that story to me, I feel like I don't know what's real anymore.
But that's like, to me, like that, because it's like very salty sea creatures that, their bodies are pretty much salt water.
Uh-huh.
So you're just eating the broken remains of them and they're still kind of alive.
Like, I love oysters, but I did have to have a moment where I realized it just feels like I'm taking a big shot of salt water for no reason. But I freaking love it.
It's delicious, but it's also very much like you're just eating part of the sea, which is also good. It can be really good. And I think I like oysters too because there's something very primal and alive about it.
Oysters and lobsters, food you have to be involved in the eating of.
The getting things out. I do love crustaceans. I love lobsters and crabs. I actually have my own lobster and crab de-shelling set that I'll bring when we're not in quarantine. I'll go to a restaurant with the paper on the table and I have my own. It's like a surgeon. It's like scalpel.
And you roll it out and it's all monogrammed.
Yeah, it's very, very precise, and I can get every little bit of everything out of the crustacean.
That is just like Bendelicrem's the same way. She has to, when we have our annual lobster in Provincetown, it's a all day event for her. I'm like, and when it comes to lobster, I eat the parts I like, and then the rest of it, I'm like, okay, thank you.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
And I don't feel passionately about, like, scooping out the entire lobster.
Have you ever eaten escargot or a snail?
Yeah.
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 I haven't, and I don't think I would. I think it's good.
Nick's a fairly picky eater. When we live together, I mean, it's a point of contention.
It's not, I didn't like or dislike your food. That was not the issue. The issue is I would come home from a long day of work. I've already maybe eaten a snack and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to heat up this one thing for dinner. And she's like, here's a 4-course meal.
You had to eat the meals.
You specifically did.
I'm
with
just happy I live with people
eyes.
Who appreciate my cooking now.
The issue is I was a latchkey kid and I had to cook my meals from a very young age. And when we were arguing about this, I said to Jinkx, what, do you just go home and expect people to have made food for you? And she's like, yeah, that's how families work.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, the problem is me.
Latchkey kid. In the West Hills.
What are you talking about?
Latchkey kid makes it sound like you were like a little boxcar child, hopping from rail to rail throughout the...
That's objectively what I was. I was not a boxcar kid. No, a latchkey kid is what I was, not that boxcar thing you described.
Okay, so Fry eats the slug. He's thirsty. Oh, wait,
it is funny that they have a formal dining room that they never... how long is this delivery?
How long is
they
this
never have a
delivery?
meal. Why is there a chef on the ship at all?
We skipped over one of my favorite lines in the entire Futurama series. It's when the professor tells the crew they're going to be going to this planet for their next delivery. In the in the Forbidden Zone. And Leela goes, are we even allowed in the Forbidden Zone? And the professor says, it's just a name. Why, like the Death Zone or the Zone of No Return. All the zones have names like that in the Galaxy of Terror. And then just sends them on their way. I love that. This is what I love about sci-fi shows and animated shows is they can just say anything they want and make it happen. Like they can just make up a planet. And since they don't have to find people who look like these aliens or do prosthetics, I guess is the more practical approach.
They can just draw it.
What kind of
just
casting call is that?
Yeah.
We need water people. We need people made of water. In any case, when you set something in the future and in outer space, you the possibilities are limitless. But then it always just comes back to doing this old Borscht Belt vaudeville slapstick comedy. Fry's very thirsty. He's walking
through the desert. He sees the big sun go down. And he's like, get out of here, big sun. And then an even bigger sun comes up immediately. That's fun.
By the time he makes it to the destination for his delivery, he is very thirsty. And he sees a cool, refreshing... And they do a very good job of making that bottle look refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
Jinkx always wants to eat and drink the things that she sees on the TV. That's a thing with her.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what it's for. That's what it makes you want to do. That's what all food on TV is styled to do. Mm-hmm. Even animated food.
Yeah. Sandwiches always, don't sandwiches look really good on cartoons? And then you eat a sandwich and you remember that it's just a sandwich.
But it always looks good, especially a Dagwood that has a whole fish in the middle and those really tall ones. I always like the Brontosaurus ribs on the Flintstones that knocks over the car.
That's got to be tasty.
Cartoon meat always looks so much better. And then you get a real chicken leg and it's all crooked and small.
It's
weird. Fry becomes emperor. And I love, so the first thing Leela says is you just waltzed into a place you've never been before and drank a mysterious blue liquid. It could have been anything. It could have been poison. And Fry says, yes, but there was an equal chance that it could be an emperor.
And then they are talking to kind of the greater delegation of leaders on this planet, and one of them's like, well, sir, it's time to pick your prime minister. I would suggest the previous appointee, Gorgak. And he's like, I would be an esteemed and principled administrator. And then he goes with Bender instead.
I gotta go with Bender on this.
Later, when Amy is soaking her nails,
mm-hmm. That's Gorgak.
So she was soaking her nails in Gorgak.
In the former prime minister.
Okay, I was just not sure if that was a common voice on this planet or what.
No, it's gotta still be Gorgak.
Why is he still hanging around the palace? He doesn't have a job.
Once it would have been more hassle to make him leave the palace, I think, at that point. No one's expecting Fry to be around for long. Like Leela says, most of the emperors were drunk during their coronation.
Well, then that's seems
the
like a good
transfer of
job.
Power going on here is that people make it about a week.
Gorgak is the prime minister several administrations over. He probably has a pension. He probably has Secret Service detail. Yeah. No one's trying to assassinate him because there's no line of power there. He's got the good gig.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more like the British setup, right? Where the monarchy's just there for us to be like, oh, thank goodness we still have a monarchy.
And then they have a real government. They have the Houses of Parliament and all of that, but they don't have the monarchy. Only is there, I think, for public focus or
ceremonial purposes.
Ceremonial purposes. I'm sure that they have some thing they have their charitable things and whatever they do has a very big attention on whatever it is. I don't really know, but
The Crown has given me a lot of information that I didn't know as an American. Watching The Crown has got me up to speed with how the monarchy works. It doesn't make it make any more sense to me, but at least I understand it better because my partner is British, and I think, you know, there's so many things that as Americans, I forget that like people outside of America don't just know about Mr. Clean or don't just know about like Cool Whip or something.
Yeah.
And for them, it's like they don't understand that like people in America just don't understand how the monarchy works and why the queen is still.
Yeah, Jinkx actually married this British guy because she thought it would make her a princess, but she didn't find out until too late. Yeah.
But I am bilingual now. I speak American and British, so
that's good.
Yeah.
Tell us a word of the day, Jinkx, in British.
I'll come back to me on that. All of that came to mind. Do you know, it's like the stupidest things make me so angry, like that they say rubbish instead of trash. Shall I sort the rubbish bin? I'm like, say, take out the trash. You're driving me nuts, you know.
Margaret, can you do a British accent?
Not really. I mean, it's hard to do a real one.
Just do a fun one.
Hard to do a real one. It's hard. It's hard to do a real one. I don't know. It's
really good.
It turns into like Australian, like, no.
Well, Australian's more fun, I think, is the problem.
Yeah.
Australian's really fun because it's really, no.
Nar.
That's a good one. That's a good, no. No.
I feel like the main thing that Americans do when they try to imitate British people is they use every British accent they've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
Like they'll say some things in Cockney and some things in received pronunciation and some things in the Queen's English. So then we just sound idiotic, like trying to sound British to British people because they're like, for a moment you were from Liverpool and then another moment you were from Blackwich or whatever, North Westington.
North Westington.
It's so weird how they can always tell where people are from. That to me blows my mind. Like, how do you know? But then we always know if like people are from like, say, the South, I guess.
Or Boston or
Boston, yeah.
Boston.
So we know that.
Maybe they're just picking up on one or two words because I had an ex from Philly and he would say wooder instead of water.
Oh, yeah. Water.
Water.
Yeah, my ex is from Philly too, and he says water.
What's his name? Is it the same one?
Water. His name is Rocco.
No, different guy.
It could be. There could be a lot of. They're all from there.
Maybe he changed his name. Yeah.
Water.
I'm so programmed that as soon as I heard the name Rocco, I wanted to make a Rocco's Modern Life joke, but that's just me being a cartoon addict again. We learn these things about ourselves.
we get a funny reveal because it turns out the delivery was a sign that says, "Please don't drink the Emperor." And that's just a little throwaway joke.
This couldn't have come soon enough. You know, Fry's so cavalier about becoming emperor. And I think, you know, we were talking about like commentary on gender roles and masculinity throughout this episode. The whole thing is like Fry doesn't like Leela telling him what to do all throughout the episode, and why he's so obstinate about like, you know, Leela's trying to point out to him that it's not a good idea for him to just stick around and see if someone tries to drink him. But he's so cocky and so headstrong and is so self-assured that he deserves this, that he just goes barreling through. And I love when Leela says, "I'm never going to help you again," and storms out. He's like, "I'll be fine." And a straw comes out from the shadows trying to hit him in the neck because they're already trying to assassinate him. And he just smacks it off and goes, "Quit it."
We skipped over his harem, which is like 25 bottles in a closet. And the administrator guy is kind of like being judgy about which bottle he's picking. But that also is kind of performative masculinity, because why does this guy care what Fry's into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very toxically masculine planet. I didn't see any lady emperors on that wall.
Right.
There's so many things in this episode where I'm like, I just don't know what I would do in that situation. If someone told you to like go into a room full of bottles full of liquid and pick out someone to have sex with. like, what do you do in that situation? And every time you pick one, just like at random, arbitrarily pick one, the guy there is like, whoa. Like, what's it gonna be? What's in that bottle?
Why are those bottles there in the first place if it's so offensive?
That's the harem.
I know. And I was like, is some of it like carbonated water or some of it like ionized waters or smart water in there? Like, I'm like,
maybe there's like a LaCroix.
Yeah, maybe there's just tap. You know?
Oh, that's the problem.
Yeah, this sounds like we're getting into like that could probably be what their class struggles are about on this planet.
Yeah,
like tap
like
water.
some is like Evian and some is tap.
Fry is canonically 25, we learn in this episode. So
yeah. Good.
Write it
so
down.
we'll know that for forever. He's 25. How old do we think Leela is? Like, she's got to be in her early 30s, right?
No.
No,
I
Leela's
thought
too
early
prudent
40s.
to still be in her.
No, she's a
20s.
smart-headed girl because she had to grow up on the mean streets. She's an orphan. She had to grow up fast.
I mean, that is a factor in it, but she's just so prudent and sensible. There's no way she's
Her Saturn
younger
has
than
returned.
33.
She's become a sensible businesswoman. She's starting her second career late in life.
I just thought
28.
that she looked like Sarah Connor, like Linda Hamilton Sarah Connor.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's sort of what she reminded me of, is that era. Linda Hamilton? Is it Linda Hamilton? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body.
Linda
Is that
Carter.
Terminator?
No, that's, yeah.
The Terminator, yeah.
Okay, there's so many movies I've never seen. I've seen every cartoon that exists, but I've never seen Terminator.
Oh, you know what cartoon I would recommend? It's really good. It's on YouTube. It's called Child Tune, and it's Korean. And it's they have English
Tune?
subtitles. Child Tune. So it's JJAL Tune. TOON. Child Tune. And it's really funny. And the one today, I watch it every day. And the one today actually made me cry, because it was like really unexpected. Because he has he has a pigeon and a cat and a dog and a mouse that don't obey him. It's kind of like a guy. He's like a YouTuber, but it's all cartoons. And he has these pets that boss him. And the pets went out today, so it was really unexpected and beautiful. So I would recommend. It's only like 5 minutes.
Do they do a new one every day, though?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or they do a new one every like 12 hours. But they're only like 5 minutes long. But they're so good.
I'm gonna get into it.
It's
I
really
find that like there's something happening where I feel like I'm the only one who's still in my house who still likes to watch episodes of things. A lot of my housemates just like to watch
Tell me
YouTube
about
channels now. They don't have the attention spans to watch the whole episode of something. So short form stuff is really, and I think that we're like seeing this new renaissance of short form entertainment, for better or for worse.
But it's also not like but people binge things, so that I couldn't imagine before watching a 12-hour movie, but we'll sit there and watch a whole
series,
in a day, and it's like this is even longer attention span. So,
but then someone's like, "This movie's an hour and 45 minutes. No thanks." But then they'll watch like 6 hours of TV.
Yeah, it's very like I watched The Queen's Gambit in a day, but it's like, would I sit there for a movie for that long? I don't know. It's weird how it's just packaged differently, but it's pretty much like a 6-hour movie.
It's just like any one of the Lord of the Rings
grazed over something very important, the story of the grasshopper and the octopus.
This is my other favorite quote of the series.
She says
of the
this
entire
3 times an episode. That this is my favorite quote of the whole series.
Is Fry getting upset with Leela and saying, this reminds me of the story of the grasshopper and the octopus. All summer long, the grasshopper toiled away, hiding acorns for the winter, while the octopus mooched off his girlfriend. Then the winter came, and the grasshopper died, and the octopus ate all his acorns. Also, he got a race car. Is any of this getting through to you? It's the most amazing, quote. I love that.
But Margaret,
line
I have
so
to tell you,
much.
for years, Jinkx insisted that the grasshopper and the octopus was a real story, and that was
did not.
Yes, you did.
You sometimes take things that I do as a bit as if I'm actually believe that. Like, I'm just
Shut up,
really good at
Mom.
committing to bits.
The speech goes off without a hitch, even though Fry did not study, because he wrote the entire thing on his forearm, which seems hard.
I love that the oath is just reciting everyone who's killed someone to get there.
It's a very, Nathaniel begat Solomon, who begat, from the Bible.
That's from very Old Testament.
Yeah. Do you like the Old Testament, Margaret?
You like the Old? Are you more of an Old Testament or a New Testament?
The Old Testament is full of such weird laws, like don't eat seafood and don't wear mixed fabrics. It's very hard line, very strange. Don't jerk off into the sand. Don't spill your seed anywhere.
Which is fine because there's no sand in my house, so I've been okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But it's the weirdest in contrast to the New Testament. It's the New Testament, I think, is super gay.
Yeah.
It's a queer text.
It's very queer.
I'm more interested in the things that came out around the time of the Old Testament. The things that were heavily influenced by the Bible, but not the Bible. The whole thing about
Jinkx
Lilith.
doesn't like the Beatles. She likes the Monkees.
I love the Monkees.
Yeah, I'm just being very contrarian now. I'm more into the Torah. But I just.
What is this story
I completely
before you
lost
start?
my train of thought. I was going to go off on a whole tangent about the myths of Lilith, Adam's first wife, but really we should talk about Futurama. Fry completes the speech. The sun set. The water people start glowing, and that's when we
skipped
learn
another
that
really
the Emperor...
important thing.
Oh my
I forgot.
God.
I jumped ahead. But this is another thing that's so important.
What?
The stand-up comedian.
Oh, yes.
Because
the comedian is great. The comedian is great.
The people under the orange sun are like, boo, 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 boo.
This is so evening at the Improv, comedy, 90s stand-up comedy on television was that. That was so perfect.
Very that, premium blend,
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, we know that a lot of the writers on The Simpsons and Futurama have... histories in stand-up, because I feel like anytime either of these shows make commentary on stand-up, just on the little bit I know about stand-up, it seems like they've got a really insider knowledge. There's that whole episode where Krusty goes on an existential crisis because he realizes he's a sellout, so he has to get back into his, retouch with his stand-up roots. And doesn't he become a parody of George Carlin?
He's sort of a Carlin type. He's a truth speaker type.
I don't even know enough about stand-up to appreciate all of that, but watching that episode, I'm like, someone in this writer's room has some chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. It's so funny. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's very inside.
Well, Margaret, you're the only stand-up comedian I like. Don't tell the other stand-up comedians.
Oh, thank you.
You were the first stand-up comedian that I it was I found you at the same time I was finding my queerness, and I was starting to become an independent teenage person, So I don't think I was
great.
ever even allowed to watch stand-up before I got my hands on Notorious CHO. You know, like I really followed the rules until about age 14 when I really, you know, that's when I became the little slut that I am. Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad.
They're in the speech area, and Fry's stomach starts glowing because all the water people are glowing, and everyone
all
realizes
the water people are glowing. We don't get to learn much about their practices and their rituals because we are quickly interrupted by the Emperor yelling from within Fry's stomach. Now, if he could always, like, he can yell from inside Fry's stomach, it's almost like the Emperor didn't even know he was still alive until he started glowing.
Maybe he fell asleep.
And the glowing woke him up.
Yeah. He's like, oh, what is that?
Whoa, where am I? Anyway, so immediately the problem becomes that the Emperor is inside of Fry, and the water people want to kill Fry to drain the Emperor out of him. And Fry's friends have to find a way to get the Emperor out of Fry without killing him. Maybe. I mean, lots of suggestions still involve killing Fry, but...
Yeah, Dr. Zoidberg suggests a centrifuge that will spin him around at a great speed until it all comes out. And then there's also a big juicer that the water people bring. There's a lot of ways that involve turning Fry into kind of a pulp.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What I like is there's the impending doom of the water people wanting to kill Fry, but they also have some time because as the water people are throwing themselves against the door, they're just splashing and becoming puddles. And I love the Prime Minister saying, "Keep at it, boys. We're starting to crack the veneer." You know, like, so we've got some time. Fry's gonna be okay.
They're locked in the throne room.
Yeah.
And by the way, this palace is... So I went to Palm Springs one time, and I was looking at the Airbnbs, and there was one that had like a big pool, and it was cheap. And I looked at the interior design, and it looked like this place, but like louder. So we didn't end up staying there.
Ooh.
Okay.
But I would live in this palace.
Was that just a story to bring up that you went to Palm Springs?
Doesn't this give you a Palm Springs vibe? This whole palace adventure? Everyone's thirsty.
It does.
And if there was a pool there, I would want to live there. But it seems like there's not because people are made of water.
Right.
Like, what would a pool be?
This one time when I was in Palm Springs, I was renting a place with a pool.
Palm Springs. It was nice. But it's arid.
And it's very gay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I went during the pandemic, so I didn't get to see any gay stuff. We just had to stay inside near our pool.
But there's like, I think the pandemic sped up something that was already happening, but a huge gay migration to Palm Springs. Because like all the gays I know who were living in WeHo have all migrated to Palm Springs.
Yeah.
So something, do you think there's going to be like a new queer mecca there? Is it only for rich people?
Yeah.
It is a little.
There's like affordable places. Like I have friends who moved into kind of this like park that's like a trailer park, but it also has houses and it's really nice. So, but it's not as like expensive as buying a house. So it was really a good investment, I thought. So there's a lot of really nice places, but it's very gay to me. But not necessarily. It's like every gay over 40.
Yeah. There's this like, when I see the videos of Bianca Del Rio riding around Palm Springs in her golf cart, it just makes me think like it's like the queer celebrity retirement.
Which I love.
But I guess it would be pre-retirement because it's like these people aren't like retiring. These people
Nice
are just
save,
like
Jinkx.
successful middle-aged people.
I mean, I'm sort of taking my retirement now, and then when the pandemic's over, I'll start working again. And so I'm like thinking, okay, well, I'm just pretending I'm retired for the next like 2 years or whatever, and then I'll take that off of my retirement actually when I do retire.
That sounds like a more healthy place to be in than where I'm at, where I'm full Norma Desmond right now. I'm like walking around my house like, Max, where are my fan Max. I still get them every day. I'm still famous. They still want me.
Which I love, like Eric von Stroheim writing the letters to her. To me, that I wish I had a von Stroheim like boyfriend who would like be my Max and like live here, and I think that movie's really romantic.
It's a really fantastic film, and then everything since then. So we're talking about Sunset Boulevard now.
Which you've never seen.
That's not true. I saw it on my honeymoon. Thank you very much.
So
it was one of those movies. Yeah, and that's why I'm currently obsessed with it. Thank you. I always get obsessed with things very late. I'll save Nick from telling you them.
I don't care that you got into it late. It's just you would quote it and you had never seen it.
I quote lots of things I've never seen. I quote you and your comedy all the time, and I've never once been to one of your shows.
Also not true.
Anyway, in terms of Futurama, they decide they're going to get Fry to cry out the Emperor.
Well, they first have to call Leela, who's punching a bag with Fry's face on it.
Leela comes to save Fry.
No, there's a funny part where Bender says, look, I don't like you and you don't like me, but we gotta work together.
You.
Oh, well, anyway. And then later he interrupts her and he's like, wait. What is it you like about me the most?
There's never...
So then she comes to help.
There's never wasted conversations on Futurama. They get Fry to they get Fry to cry his first tear when they're pretending that Leela's being killed. But of course she's kicking ass because Leela always kicks ass. Specifically kicking, she's very good at kicking.
It's those boots.
And then they all decide...
get kicked with one of those boots, you know? It's like 2 Doc Martens, but, you know, in one boot.
They make a lot of jokes throughout the show about Leela's feet and those boots. I think there must be a foot fetishist on the writing staff. As a foot fetishist myself, I can identify. I can identify someone sneaking it in. You know, there's always one. Listen, in the biz, you just gotta accept that in the writers' room there will be at least one foot fetishist.
What about that time where Fry and Leela are eating the chips with their feet? That was that guy who wrote it.
There's lots of foot fetish throughout Futurama, and now that we've talked about it, we'll have to remember when we
can have a segment.
Have to jot down moments.
Can Michael make us a theme song for the foot fetish segment?
Just for the foot fetish? Yeah.
We need a bumper. You know, like a stinger. That's what this show's missing. I'm the producer. I don't know if you know that, Margaret. I have a lot of jobs.
All right, we have to wrap it up, but let's get through the entire episode. They start beating the tears out of Fry. One of the best bits is that, you know, like they show the passage of time and they've been beating up Fry for so long, getting him to cry, that eventually the Emperor himself is the one beating up Fry because he's fully out of Fry
shifts.
now.
They're
Everyone's
all tired
exhausted
and Amy's
from
just
beating up Fry.
Kicking him alone.
But I think this episode, what the best thing to take away from the episode, because always, you know, everything resets to be exactly how it was before the episode started. That's the big thing about cartoons and animated shows, and it's, you know, they oftentimes make jokes about it, like everything has to go back to the way it was when it started, except Fry and Leela's relationship has taken a big step forward, because I think we've now set the precedent that Leela is the dominant persona in Fry and Leela's relationship. And even though Fry, as the male person in the relationship, is expected to be the macho in charge person, that's not how their relationship is going to be.
He is like a male person because he delivers packages.
He's like a lovable beta male, you know? Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Fry's perfect as kind of the squishy little, like, helpless baby that he is sometimes, because he also has a lot of good qualities. I have a big crush on Fry, so there's that. I always ask if there was, what character on the show do you self-identify with the most, and what character do you find yourself most drawn to, like attracted to, or like if they were a real life person, who would you want to bang?
I think Leela. That I would want to be and fuck. To me, is like a very like, oh yeah, perfect.
Now, are you fucking a clone of yourself, or are you just having some one-on-one time with yourself?
I think both. I think it's like, it takes that sort of like, it's like, you know, like a Castro clone. It's like a Castro clone.
Like when you go to the Castro and you see two boyfriends who look the same?
Yeah. And then, you know,
or did you mean Fidel Castro?
Fidel Castro.
Yeah. No, that
Does he have doubles like Saddam?
Doubles, yeah. Doubles.
Okay.
I love it.
I literally thought you meant just like twin boyfriends.
I mean, I have put my foot in my mouth so many times because I've like assumed that a couple because I've assumed a couple were brothers, or or I assumed brothers were a couple, you know. I think we've talked about, you know, like when you're in a same-sex relationship, you double your wardrobe, but you also run the risk of people thinking you're human brothers.
No, I had a girl. I was dating a girl she was 25 years younger than me, but she's Japanese American, and we look alike. And people thought she was my daughter.
Oh no!
And I was like, oh my god, so embarrassing.
That's I have friends who are couples where that's happened, and it does. I have to imagine it would feel mortifying. No one's thought my partner was my brother or my son, except when I am in drag and I stand next to him, I could not look more like this child's mother, you know. And, you know, something happens when you get into drag where you just become larger than you are in real life. You become taller, your hair becomes bigger. And so, like, in pictures, it looks like someone zoomed in on me, but not him. Like, we're standing next to each other, and somehow I look like I've been magnified and he looks normal size.
It's like a forced perspective, Lord of the Rings kind of shot.
Yeah. Margaret, do you think you would watch more Futurama? Will you seek it out, or will you just like when it's on in the background you might tune into it?
I think I would seek it out. You know, it's very funny. I know I've seen much of it before, and it's just something that I need to revisit because it reminds me of so many things, and it's still very fresh. So it's like going back to The Simpsons, going back to any of those great older animations. It's really fun.
It's a great binge.
It is a good binge. It's all on Hulu. Have you, are there any other animated shows that you love? We talked about the one on YouTube, which I would butcher the pronunciation, so you're going to have to text it to us.
Childtoon. It's so good. And then I also, I think I really love like a good Scooby-Doo. I love like an old, like, you know, Bullwinkle. I love an old,
Bullwinkle was fun.
Daria. Daria's a good one.
Daria's really good.
Such a specific. It's just such a specific moment in time. I think Daria, like more than anything else, like encapsulates the 90s to me.
Yeah, it's really a time capsule. Oh, King of the Hill too is really
King of the Hill's
like a time
amazing.
It's really
hard
amazing.
to get. I think it's hard to get my gay boy friends into King of the Hill because a lot of them report that the animation creeps them out.
It is. It's so like freaky. But it's also really heartwarming too. It's really tender. So there's a lot of it that's like, oh, it's really sweet. So, but yeah, it is freaky too.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I don't feel that way about King of the Hill, but the Beavis and Butthead animation creeps me out even more so now that I've seen the very terrifying Beavis and Butthead porn parody, where it's like the women in the porn are just, you know, how they look in real life, but the two men playing Beaver and Buttface or Beaver and Buttload or whatever his name is. They're wearing prosthetics to make them look more like the cartoon characters, and it's very terrifying.
That's really scary.
But I do recommend watching it. It's one of the greats. Like Oliver Twink is another wonderful piece of adult cinema.
Ooh, have you ever seen Twinklight?
Twinklight's very boring for what it could have been.
It could have been better.
It's one of those things that they
instead
they took
of Bella, his name's Billa. It's Billa.
Billa.
Because his name is Bill, they put an A on it.
I think good porn parodies have to know that they have to lean into the camp when they try to when they think they're going to be creating something actually artistically beautiful. That's when the porn has run away with them.
What porn parody do you wish existed that doesn't?
Gosh, probably a big Avengers one.
Oh, but like a big budget, yeah.
A big budget, a huge one would be great. Or like a porn Marvel universe would be great.
Oh, yeah, where they can kind of like pop up in each other's movies. I love that idea.
Yeah.
Men.com did an X-Men spoof. I mean, Manila played Wonder Woman. I mean, they're just scenes. They're not the big, like, expansive parody film that from the golden years of porn. Mm-hmm. But Manila played Wonder Woman in a Avengers gay porn parody.
That's not Avengers.
Just one
That's
scene.
Justice League.
That's Justice League?
Yeah.
Damn
you look like an idiot.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best here. I was never born for digital entertainment. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Margaret. Do you have anything?
Thank you.
If we were to give you uninterrupted time to promote something or say something that's important to you right now, is there anything?
I don't know. I'll be back on tour when all the quarantine's over. But until then, I'll see people at Margaret Cho on Twitter, at Margaret_Cho on Instagram, and MargaretCho.com for anything else.
Wonderful.
Go follow Margaret. You can see her cute dog and her upcoming cat.
She's so cute. Yeah, and the kitties.
If you're looking for things to watch while you're still in quarantine, find all of Margaret's comedy specials. My favorite thing about you as a stand-up comedian is that you always find the ability to be funny and informative and like irreverent and inspiring all within the same special. And you truly are one of my heroes. So it's very exciting that we got to do this today. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And beyond all the gushy stuff, thank you for playing, was it Kim Jong-un on 30 Rock? That is one of your great contributions to society. So thank you very much.
Thank you.